My life is a Teenage Von Neuman device. Chapter 11. Sheldon paced the interior next to the ship, his heavy footsteps clanging heavily. As he stumbled back and forth, the cluster of drones that made up Nexus resistance movement scurried out of the way, narrowly avoiding being crushed underfoot each time. His face bore a worried look. He was clearly uncomfortable with Jenny being in any kind of danger. His imagination taunted him with dozens of possibilities that could be menacing Jenny at the very moment. Brad watched him, annoyed as he paced and began spinning his pistols around his trigger fingers, just as he watched his Old West heroes do in the movies. "Sheldon, will you nut that off?" Brad complained, folding his arms over his chest. Sheldon stopped, turning to face Brad. "I'm sorry, Brad. I'm just worried about Jenny. I know she's used to danger, but I got a bad feeling about this one. The stakes seem higher somehow." Brad rolled his eyes, laughing enough. "Well, that just makes it all the more exciting, buddy. If you worry all the time, you'll suck all the fun out of this." "Fun?" blurted Sheldon, shocked. "You think this is some kind of game?" "Sure," answered Brad. "The game of life. Think about it. We're in the storm of an alien fortress, on the front lines of a rebellion against a robotic dictator, in order to rescue a fair maiden from the clutches of an evil prince. How many people in the world get to experience an adventure like that? I feel like some kind of Luke Skywalker cowboy Robin Hood or something." Braden whipped out both pistols, leveling at some imaginary foe, displaying his practiced quick draw. "You've got even better, Shellhead. You're a bona fide superhero now. You know how much I've wished to be super strong, fly like you can? I'd love to be in your shoes right now." Sheldon grumbled, frowning at Brad. "You want to get run over by a truck? I can arrange that," he muttered under his breath. Perhaps Brad was right, but Sheldon felt nothing but apprehension at the idea of oncoming combat. Perhaps Silver Shell had been built to be a superhero, but Sheldon was still a Tillman geek at heart. He preferred his action second-hand, reading through a comic book, unlike the thrill-seeking Brad. Perhaps Brad really was suited to be Jenny's boyfriend. Nexus walked into the passenger compartment, closing the door to the cockpit behind her. "The pilot tells me we are due to arrive in the next 15 minutes, she said, a forced calm in her voice. Sheldon was surprised. "Well, that was fast. Earth technology takes days or weeks to get anywhere in our solar system. We got here in only 6 hours." Nexus sat down with them, a few resistance bugs making for her on the bent seam. "We're fortunate that Cluster 1 doesn't move very fast. It's intended to be a mobile staging ground for invasions, like a planetary siege weapon." Sheldon exchanged a wide-eyed look with Brad. "How big is this thing exactly?" Nexus smirked, showing a small flash of pointed teeth, an attribute she shared with her mother. "Don't worry, I don't plan on fighting it. Before I defected from the royal family, started the rebellion, I thought ahead and made sure to steal a handful of protocol codes. They should allow us to dock without raising suspicion, and fool the mothership's computer into believing that my ship is just another cell pod." "You guys want me to do it, don't you?" "You want me to say it? Fine. Just this once. That's no moon." The gathered resistance cluster clones began forming up into ranks, each holding their firearm or blade aside, as the Cluster 1 came onto the entry part of the ship. "Prepare yourself," warned Nexus. "The wedding will undoubtedly be held in the throne room. We'll have quite a distance from our point of entry to get there. This will be a lightning strike, then a running battle to the back of the ship. It won't be easy." Jenny awoke the next morning when a contingent of Coruscants and groomers arrived, ready to prepare Jenny for her wedding. They were clearly shocked at her state, though they said nothing about it. Politeness, Jenny supposed. They acted more as though she had been a child caught in the rain, fussing over her and cleaning her up. In short order, they prepared a new dress for her, dressed her pigtails into a complicated sort of beehive hairdo, surrounded by a hairdress that reminded Jenny of some kind of Egyptian pharaoh. The robots applied makeup to her face, taking their time with the intricate eyeshadow designs that floated out from the corner of Jenny's eyes into the swirls and spirals in Jenny's cheeks. Jenny just sat there passively and let them go about their business. After last night's ordeal, she felt so defeated. Might as well just go along with the funny little beetle's wishes and make this a lot easier. Once Jenny was properly attired, Fexus arrived to pick her up. Jenny was surprised to find herself actually welcoming the meeting. Fexus may be a supervillain, but was preferable company to cheering little drones, even if they were friendly. Fexus's humanoid form lent her a degree of humanity that Jenny felt more at ease with, even if Fexus would never bear such a thing, Certainly better than being escorted by guards. You look lovely, XJ9. Complimented Vexus, tentatively pointing at the delicate arrangement of Jenny's head. Fixing some minor detail that she felt was out of place. She does realize something. What? Your Vexus voice sounds an awful lot like Chrysalis. What are you talking about? My Chrysalis voice sounds nothing like Vexus's. Vexus is far more purring than anything else. Jenny walked alongside Vexus through a large promenade of the ship, where clusters of citizens hustled on through dawn and day off-duty activities. Jenny turned her head slightly to regard Vexus. Wasn't sure at all how to respond to this, so she remained silent. Reminds me of my own wedding day, Vexus continued. I was nervous, of course, too, but nowadays it seemed like it went by in a flash. And my parents had done an excellent job of picking up my suitor. Everything that was expected from a prince. Jenny never seen this side of Vexus before. She was being nice, even motherly. Unable to hold back her curiosity, Jenny asked, You married? To who? Vexus tilted her head, her smile fading. Oh, my husband has been dead for the past 10 years or so. Brutus is barely old enough to remember him. Vexus sighed. Sensing Jenny's next question, she added, He was killed during the last great war with the Urkins. Impending doom, too, or something like that. Thankfully, his death was not in vain. He managed to hold out against them long enough their supply lines ran out, and they were forced to negotiate a peace settlement. Jenny felt sympathy for the Cluster Queen, once again being surprised by her own emotions. Bah! Ancient history, said Vexus, changing the subject. I wanted to talk to you about the ceremony today, and what will happen after. Being married to Brutus will grant you the title of Cluster Princess, and you'll wield a great deal of power. Brutus will remain a prince for the time being, until the day I eventually retire from the throne, and the two of you reign as king and queen. During this time, I will be instructing you in the finer points of being a successful monarch, as Brutus has been from birth. It will also be your duty to ensure the continuity into royal line, which means you'll be expected to birth at least 2 heirs. Jenny held up her hands in protest, stopping her tracks. Wait a second. I know I've been going along with this so far, but let's not forget you forced me into this. What makes you think I'm going to stick around once I gain full access to my weapon systems? Do you plan to zap me with that EM gun every 3rd day? Jenny, honey, think about the advantage we've got on this. Now, I know this is a horrifying thought, but if we get married, you could poison Vexus, kill her, take the throne, kill Brutus, boom! You're in charge of the whole freaking army, baby! And you don't even have to consummate your relationship. All you have to do is off him on the honeymoon. And then, as Vexus is weeping tearfully over the death of her son, poison the bitch! Vexus placed a gentle hand on Jenny's shoulder. XJ9, you are programmed to help those in need, are you not? Jenny's silence answered for her. Well, frankly, the Cluster needs you. The Cluster is a mighty empire, but we're at a flashpoint of a crisis, one only you can avert. It's not quite the same as superheroing that you're used to, but believe me, by joining the Cluster, you'll be helping hundreds times the people you've been helping back on Earth. Your efforts are being wasted here amidst its brutish inhabitants. I didn't even recognize the importance of your efforts. Jenny regarded Vexus with skepticism. What makes you so confident that Cluster citizens are going to be just so more civilized? Began Jenny, deadly serious. What do you mean by that? Vexus asked, nearly scoffing with amused disbelief. Facing her hostess with an accusing glare, Jenny recounted the events of the previous night. She fought to maintain control of her emotions and carried through to the end of the story. But by the end of the story, Jenny was threatening to ruin her makeup and offend her tears. Finally, Jenny broke down completely, at least until Vexus held her in splendidly arms and hushed her quiet, which Jenny felt was downright bizarre. This was exactly the sort of thing Jenny's own mother used to do when she was little. A memory of being rocked to sleep in her mother's arms on a cool summer night came unbidden to Jenny's mind. They didn't make much sense, Jenny thought, until she remembered what her mother said about her switching bodies over time. Judging by her mother's ability to lift her up, she guessed she had been XJ2 or XJ3 when the memory was created. "Come, my dear, I know just the solution for you," said Fexus in her usual authoritative tone. "You know, one of these days I'm going to find a fanfic that's going to give XJ9's backstory the same treatment Astro Boy's backstory is. You know, the professor created Astro Boy based off of his dead son. I would love to see somebody pull that off for Jenny. What? If Avatar can get away with cool stuff like that, so can My Life as a Teenage Robot. Fexus quickly led Jenny to the nearest security citizen, while Fexus demanded the guards escorting Jenny the previous night were brought to her. The security station's manager, obviously petrified of his queen, hurried to perform her orders. Minutes later, the two guards who molested Jenny were brought forward, shaking with fear. "Are these the ones?" asked Fexus. Jenny nodded without taking her eyes off them. She couldn't believe how angry she was at them. She wanted to melt them down with the white-hot hatred she felt. "Officers, turn your sidearms to me," commanded Fexus, which the guards immediately complied. Fexus powered up one of the pistols and handed it to Jenny. "Do whatever you will, XJ9. You are acting in your position as Cluster Princess, meting out the appropriate justice. There will be no reincarnation for your actions." Jenny balked, looking at the gun in her hands. Fexus wanted to kill them? She knew what she had thought just a minute ago, but now the opportunity was in front of her. Jenny leveled the pistol at the guard standing before her, who gulped to remain in his place, arms at his side. "Your first lesson on being a ruler is that sometimes a leader must burden the responsibility of something that appears wrong, but is so very, very necessary." Jenny looked down the scope of her gun, picturing the laser firing from the muzzle, spearing out to obliterate the head of the guard in front of her, the one that caused her so much pain the night before. She imagined he felt helpless as she had, right then and there. Suddenly the memory of her mother returned to Jenny's mind. What would her mother think? She could see Jenny right now. Jenny threw the gun on the ground in disgust, nosing it broke to several pieces on impact. Good. That meant her strength was returning, even as slower than she would have liked. Jenny walked away from the scene, saying, "You better be careful, Fexus. You make me queen, there could be some changes around here." Fexus watched Jenny storm off and smiled. She hadn't done as Fexus told her, but she displayed anger, and that was something Fexus could work with. In time, she could mold XJ9 to what she wanted, twist her ideals until they were suited for the needs of the cluster. Fexus turned around, looking back at the two guards who were sighing relief. She snarled. In a flash, she closed the distance between them, driving her right fist through the skull of the closest guard, killing him instantly. The second guard escaped in shock as Fexus pulled her hand from the ruined head of his companion, seized him by the shoulder with it. Jenny flicked the left hand out to display position, deadly talons extending from the tips of her curled fingers. In a single fluid motion, Fexus' left hand cleaved through the guard's torso, easily shredding his armor and sending bits of his air machinery flying to the floor. Fexus dropped the collapsing guard, who died with a weak mechanical squawk as his vital fluids and components spilled out and pulled around him. Fexus flicked her hands, retracting her claws, trying to clean the majority of the guard's entrails from her hands. Leaving the cleaning to the janitorial staff, Fexus turned and strode off after XJ9. She had to keep a closer watch of the subjects she allowed to watch over her captives in the future. A short while later, Jenny had taken her place in the throne room as the ceremony begun. Luckily, thought Jenny, cluster weddings were at least ornate as human ones. Her anxiety slowly mounted to what looked more and more like it was actually going to have to marry the true birds. "Okay, just this once! Marriage is what brings us together here today." What a situation to be in, married while still in high school. Although, it wouldn't really be considered legal back on Earth, but that was starting to debate the question of whether or not Jenny was actually going to get back there at all. Well, look on the bright side, Jenny. At least you're not in high school pregnant. Foreshadowing! Oh noes! At the front of some room was a kind of clergyman, reciting something in computer language Jenny couldn't understand. 011 0100011 dash 10111 dash 10 dash 1 dash 1110 dash 101 dash 1 ellipses ellipses ellipses. Fexus and the other cluster citizens listened attentively, but it was all gibberish to her. Ah, I get it. Ancient Greek. Jenny suddenly elbowed a nearby attendant to find out what was happening. Well, it was told the clerk was reading a prayer in trinary code, something considered secret by the majority of the cluster. Jenny just shrugged, tuning it out, placed her grip on the ornamental chime that she was holding, testing her strength. Disappointingly, she found herself unable to bend and break the metal, producing an annoying creaking instead. Afterwards, Jenny and Brutus approached the throne where Fexus sat, adorned in her royal vestments. As Fexus directed, the two of them glanced their hands together and recited for their full lineages, as far back as appropriate. Brutus began, declaring himself, Brutus, son of Fexus, daughter of Chloris, son of Grantius, and descendant of the mighty Frederator! Nice! Nice! Founder of the line! Fexus and the crowd turned their attention to Jenny, expecting her to follow suit. Jenny stammered, unable to what would be appropriate for a girl like her, who had been corrected by her mother's hand alone. XJ9, the daughter of Lakeman, based on the work of Neutron? Yes! Oh, hey, wait a minute. Now that Jimmy Neutron's been mentioned, there is no excuse for no Yokians to be mentioned in this fic. Extrapolated from the full, influenced by Walter? Jenny stood up when she caught the blank stares of the audience, and offering a secret smile instead. That's all? Oh, you could have at least mentioned that she was also based on the work of a Mr. Valentine. What? If this fic is going to continue bringing in Nicktoons references, so can I! Fexus then rose from her seat, declared in a loud, commanding voice, Let it be known to all that I have justice a robot. I find her worthy. From this day forth, the House Fexus welcomes XJ9 as its newest daughter. Fexus extended her hands to Jenny, placing a tiara on Jenny's forehead to look more like a tuning fork to jewelry. Cutting it pretty close, guys, thought Jenny, worrying that she would have to resort to sprinting towards the nearest exit if Hilton arrived very soon. Jenny glanced nervously at every visible door, hoping for any kind of delay in the ceremony. Fexus concluded her lines. Yes, this is the matriarch of the cluster. If any should dare to oppose it, let them feel the full weight of the Empire upon them. A loud crash sounded from the back of the room. BOOM! Causing the wedding ceremony to come to a sudden halt. Jenny and Brutus spun around, looking towards the large double doors that served as the main entrance to the throne room, closed for the day's events. The orderly carved metal of the doors caved inward, a gigantic dent projecting towards the throne room. So the opposite side had been the receiving end of a collision with a truck. For a split second, no one moved or spoke, stunned by the oddity they were witnessing. Never in the last century had anyone or anything opposed the will of the cluster in the royal throne room. Then a second crash sounded, and the double doors shattered, thrown from their hinges, hurling towards the assembled crowd. In the doorway stood a very angry and very determined-looking Silver Shell. A moment later, the room exploded into movement. Around Silver Shell's legs swarmed in several armed rubber cluster drones, pouring into the room and firing almost randomly towards the Queen's Royal Guards. Royal Guards were instantly springing to the defense of Fexus, throwing themselves in a line of fire if need be, returning such shots to the rebels when they could. Nexus streaked towards the crowd, dancing ahead of Shell and issuing large gouts of bright green flame from her wrists. The chemical fire as she started served to block off each of the screaming wedding guests and slow the oncoming guards, ensuring a direct route to Jane remained open. Silver Shell strode confidently forward, his pace increasing with each step. Jenny came to her senses, yanking her hands away from her would-be grooms. Jenny gave Brutus a hard smack across the face that sent the puny prince flying, then rushed towards Silver Cell as fast as her dress would allow. Sheldon was duking out with a few of the Queen's bodyguards. They attempted to halt his advance, but even with his arms and futuristic glances, they were no match for the hulking body of Silver Cell. Sheldon reached down and grabbed the nearest guard by the head, easily hoisting him off the ground and swinging at the helpless goon as a blunt weapon. As the remaining two attempted to penetrate Shell's armor with their weapons, they were in turn knocked aside by Silver Cell's improvised club. Discarding the guard by tossing him over his shoulder into the crowd, Sheldon spied Jenny running towards him and locked eyes with her. Mist of fire, gun fire, combat occurring all around him. Sheldon took Jenny in his arms and swept her up in an enormous hug. "You came for me! I knew you would!" exclaimed Jenny happily, eventually showing her face. I knew you guys would come rescue me," corrected Jenny, awkwardly. "Saturnian, go fetch the EMP gun that brought XJ9 down in the first place," snapped Jenny. Vexus, "The rest of you, lay down a suppressing fire from me!" The guards did as they were commanded, firing a strike team of rebels, forcing them to take cover behind the abandoned seating arrangements. The rebels were valiant, but could not compare to superior skill and training of the elite guard. The rebel drones were dropping like flies. Vexus hissed maliciously as he threw forward and hurled javelin, remembering his wings extending from her back and propelling her towards her target. Her sights at Silver Cell's throat. Her arms reached out in front of her, extending impossibly sharp talons ready for the kill. Nexus leapt out to intercept her mother, clanging with her in midair. Vexus and Nexus tumbled to the ground, their hands locked in a death grip with each other. For a few perilous seconds, the two rolled together, neither gaining an advantage, till finally they came to a stop, with Nexus on top. She pinned her daughter down against the floor, easily outmassing Nexus's strength. "Is it wrong that I'm turned on by this?" "So, this is what you've been doing since you ran away. You organized a rebellion that's been convincing me." "What a waste," hissed Vexus, glaring her teeth. Nexus said nothing. There was a burst of chemical flame from her wrists, engulfing both their hands in doors of deadly fire. Nexus noticed this tactic with a tinge of respect. Against any other opponent, it would send them screeching off at Nexus, clutching their hands in pain. But Vexus was made of sterner stuff than that. She grinned, clutching harder at the inferno that was her daughter's hands, forcing their locked fists soaring towards Nexus's face. Excuse me, Queenie," came a voice behind her. Vexus turned, distracted to see a young human boy standing behind her. He smiled pleasantly, holding up something in his hand for her to see. "No, not this," he corrected, indicating the black cylinder in his hand, with a bright red one pulsing from one end. "This!" Vexus's eyes followed where he was pointing. Some kind of device was affixed to her back. Underneath her, Nexus folded up her legs to a spring kick, planting her slender feet against her mother's chest, pushing off hard, sending the matriarch hurling off her into the opposite wall. Just before she impacted, Vexus caught sight of the human boy who pressed the red trigger. Instantly, everything around her exploded in flames. Brad helped Nexus off the ground, shielding his eyes from the explosion of the plastic explosive distracted Vexus's back. "That was quite resourceful," complimented Nexus. "The rebellion could use a few more like you." Brad was about to reply with something witty, when Nexus was struck from behind, engulfed by a halo of bright blue energy. Brad looked to where the blaster originated, saw the EMP cannon that Cluster had used during the Robotics Expo, being operated by a pair of Cluster warriors. Nexus spanned violently, gripped in a seizure of some kind, and fell to the ground at Brad's feet. "Nexus!" he cried out, crouching by her side. Sheldon and Jenny noticed this as well. Turning their attention from the Cluster warriors brandishing the gun, Brad watched helplessly as the cannon fired again, this time straight for Jenny and Sheldon. The beam struck out for them, barely giving Sheldon enough time to put his arms protectively around Jenny before the EMP cannon impacted on target. Brad watched Jenny and Silver Cell vanish. One moment they were there, then with a flash of light the impulse hit, until they were gone. Nexus incapacitated next to him, they left Brad alone, with a dozen or so remaining Cluster drones, scared by the now reinforced Royal Guardsmen. Cell laid the odds and swung sharply against him. Brad didn't even pardon what may become his two closest friends. He held a tug on his pants leg and saw Nexus gasp. "Go! Get reinforcements! A ship! Press the attack!" Brad didn't know if it was coherent. Nexus's eyes were wide and unfocused, her facial expressions wild and feverish. Making an important tactical decision, Brad turned and fled, heading back for the ship with a few of the rebels close behind. Vexus, her pieces of armor still smoking, pulled herself into the debris that had fallen atop her. Explosive tested her back, taking out a chunk of the wall and detonated, temporarily tapping her under a pile of rubble until she recovered enough of her strength to shove it aside. Now Vexus was fuming both literally and figuratively. The wedding was in ruins. XC9 was nowhere to be seen, and both her children were passed out on the floor. Wonderful. Guards! Get these two to the quarters. Post a few sentries at my daughter's door. Where is the bride? The guards were perplexed, as clueless to the disappearance as Brad had been. Festus ordered an immediate search party, assuming that by disappeared, the guards had meant gotten away. In a short order, search parties were organized and sent out, and Festus retreated to her private chambers. After all this, she was going to need a nice, relaxing bath. Taking let go of Sheldon as the two reappeared in the now empty throne room. Sheldon was slumping over his hands and his knees, obviously drained from the experience. At the last second before being shot, Sheldon had protected them both with some kind of force field he activated, and everything had gone pitch black and perfectly silent. Now that sensations had returned, Jane peeked around, noticing the fires had been extinguished and the fallen guards removed from the room. After that fight, the room was still as a grave.
Sheldon, what happened?
Sheldon struggled to find his voice, trying to catch his breath. I could only guess that my force field didn't just block the EMP attack. It also deflected all the incoming light rays as well, so we were effectively blind. But the light bending around us rendered us invisible. Sheldon collapsed on his back, laying down. I think the field also pushed away all the air in the area was fed. That's why we couldn't hear anything. It's a good thing none of us breathed.
I'd like to point out the science behind that is faulty.
I would like to point that out, but then I remember what type of fic I'm reading. Jane walked over to Sheldon, concerned her face.
Shell, you don't look so good. What's wrong?
She asked, worried. Sheldon smiled weakly. Oh, I think I used that invention a bit too long. Drained my power core. I think you might have to carry me for a bit. Jane grunted with effort as she hoisted Silver Cell onto her shoulder. Her strength had improved to have a typical human at least, though she could tell she was still far from the truck-juggling titan she normally was. Between Sheldon's condition and her own, Jane didn't like her chances of breaking out, making it back to Earth by themselves.
Jenny, Sheldon, we're going to have to find a place to hide for the time being,
announced Jenny. But she wondered, on a ship full of enemies, where could they possibly go? Next on Chapter 12, whips and chains and kinky leather, someone's going to get laid tonight. And then, in Chapter 13, he comes. The most powerful and cruel villain in Transformers history. Yes, he will arrive, and you will know his name as the Lord. All hail!